Along with every Asian I know, I went to see the movie Crazy Rich Asians opening weekend. We know the importance of numbers. Afterwards, I called my friend Lisa, who's half Japanese, and I asked her what she thought. She said she cried through the whole thing, which I found confusing because it's a pretty funny movie. When I asked her why, she said because Asians were doing everything. I knew exactly what she meant. The ingenue, the hunky leading man, the sassy sidekick, the bimbo, all of them were Asian. This in contrast to the norm, which is that if we're lucky enough to be cast at all in a movie, we're playing the role of the Asian. That character is probably nerdy, definitely subservient, either a eunuch or a prostitute, depending on whether it's a man or a woman, and definitely not funny. Our next guests are pushing back against that stereotype with a monthly variety show at UCB called AsianAF. Jenny Arimoto, welcome to the show. We also have Nicole Pasquale, welcome, and Donald Chang. Welcome to 112BK.
Thank you very much, yeah.
So maybe first question for Jenny and Nicole, who's less funny, Asians or women? It's a hard one, right?
Every day I wake up and I drink my matcha and I think I look out the window and I think about that.
Right. Maybe eat a salad while smiling. Yeah. So why the need for this show, AsianAF? Talk to me about the inception of it.
Oh, I mean, I feel like that's a Will Choi story, who's the producer of the show and the creator of the show in LA and who brought it to New York. At the first New York show, every Asian performer that was on the lineup looked into the audience, saw a sold-out audience of Asian Americans and just other people in general, and were just so blown away by the response. And we just had never seen anything like it. And it was like your friend who saw Crazy Rich Asians. We were just all crying.
That's
it was
amazing.
really beautiful.
Yeah, I went to Bubble Tea recently, which is this queer Asian party, and it was like a similar experience of walking through the doors of a club in Bushwick and just seeing a sea of queer Asians who had all, turned out, and it was amazing. So I imagine, like, if you're in the comedy world, that feeling is mirrored there as well. So it started in LA at UCB, and how long has it been running at UCB in New York?
Oh, I think it started in 2017 was when it first came here. And I think that it has since then, like since the beginning, has sold out every show.
Wow.
And is the only show, I think, that has come from LA to New York that has sold out consistently.
So it's like one part improv, maybe some stand-up, but then also just Asian performing artists doing their thing.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And the audience, as you said, are predominantly Asian, or is it sort of a mixed bag?
I mean, it's definitely more Asians I've seen in an audience in any other show.
I would say it's Asians bringing their white friends.
Yeah. Just say it.
Let's just say it. Yeah. And it's the performers and their white boyfriends in the audience.
Right. I'm curious, like, if you have a predominantly Asian audience, does that change the way you feel about telling Asian jokes? Like, are there certain jokes that you wouldn't tell if you looked out and just saw a sea of white faces that you would tell if you had a more Asian audience?
I do think certain things land differently when you do scenes that are maybe based off of your Asian, experience. And so that's kind of nice when you see people that you're like, oh, we have a shared experience. You do feel, I don't know, I feel more comfortable doing certain things that are like maybe more specific to Asian culture or my upbringing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I also feel that sometimes when I hear a joke that is pretty specific and I laugh, say it's like a Chinese joke, my mom's Chinese, and I'm laughing, then if I see a white person laughing, sometimes I'm like, but you can't laugh at that. Do you
That's
guys
mine.
Yeah. Like, are we laughing for the same reasons? Like, I'm laughing from a place of like familiarity and love, and are you laughing at me?
My parents talked to me about when they watched Coco. And they were like, that movie destroyed us. Because like Korean culture is very similar to Mexican culture, and they were like respect for their ancestors.
Right.
And they were like, it destroyed them. So I was like, it feels like that, where you can see a similarity in culture, or at least like I know someone who like has that same experience. So I hope it's not like they're like.
There's some universality, right?
There's universality.
Yeah.
So I feel it's a.
I'm like, if they paid the price for the ticket, do whatever.
Whatever you want.
I'm more just like, if I can get a laugh, I'll take it.
We were talking about sort of like Asian characters or Asian representation in movies and film from my youth, from my producer's youth as well. And the one person who we came back to is like, was there a quote unquote funny Asian character in movies was Long Duck Dong, who unfortunately was this like minstrelly type of Asian character. And we weren't supposed to like we were supposed to laugh at him. We're supposed to think that he was a caricature. I'm curious, are there Asian stereotypes or Asian humor that you won't touch or won't make jokes about for fear of like treading that line?
I think for me, for sure. I think I don't do accents
Yeah.
at all. Because like even if I just don't feel comfortable with it.
Sure.
Yeah. And anytime I see it, I always like at least get a little on edge before I'm like, no, this feels like it's coming from a true place or anything like
Right.
that. Yeah.
So we have a bunch of different Asian countries represented at this table. What do you guys think about the interchangeability of Asians playing roles of other Asians? Does that bother you, or are you at this point like kind of, we'll take whatever we can get?
I think at this point, because I'm an actor too.
Yeah.
So it's like we were actors.
We're staring at each other.
Yeah, so
like,
we're
You're
just
like, what would
like,
my agent say?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's definitely that moment where, like, do I feel comfortable doing this? I think it depends on the role, because, like, first of all, it's like, we never make that a point when, like, white people are playing other
true.
white races, or other white, like, nationalities, or, like, black people playing other black nationalities. So I think, like, right now, I'd be fine with it as long as it's done respectfully and believably.
Yeah, because I'm a multiracial Asian person, Thai, Chinese, and white. And if you cast me as an Indian person or anything that, like, just, anything that has to do with, like, the colorism, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but if you have to, like, paint my face a certain way, then I don't think it's right.
Right. Black face, brown face, in general.
Not
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
No.
Yellow face, also very bad.
Yeah.
Are there any characters from movies or TV from when you were young who you remember as like sticking out in your mind as oh wow, I see myself? Any Asian characters?
So for me, from Western culture, not really. I actually watched a lot of Thai soap operas with my mom, and I'd watch the Chinese soap operas with her too that were dubbed in Thai. And I must have been watching all of those, one, because I found them very entertaining, but I think it was because I saw myself in them. A lot of, in the Thai soap operas, they have Thai people, but they also have like multiracial Thai people, and that was where I saw my representation. So I unfortunately could not find it in the US. I would have to watch recorded VHS tapes that were sent from Thailand to see myself.
Right.
Yeah, similarly, I grew up watching Japanese TV at home, so I feel like I did feel myself represented, but once again, not in Western culture. It was also very much specifically Japanese TV. I'm thinking now, and like the only thing that's popping up in my head is the Power Ranger, the yellow
Yes,
Power
the
Ranger.
yellow
my
Power
God.
Ranger. Yes.
So I was like, we're there.
Right.
We can't be Pink Ranger, but
Right.
we're Yellow
That's
Ranger.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And how reductive. The black Power Ranger, he's black.
I
Yeah.
know.
The pink
Yeah.
one's the girl, but not the Asian girl because she's got to be yellow.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I totally remember like when you're playing in like your friend's basement and they're like, you have to be the Yellow Ranger. Sorry, I put it at you, Jenny. But like,
But I get it. But it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, she was one that came up for me as well. I mean, the only other one that really sticks out is Bad Bitch Waverly from the Joy Luck Club. But I feel like that movie was so significant because you had an entire Asian cast that it allowed for personality differentiation.
Yeah.
Sort of we talked about in the intro, where it's like all of those daughters were very different in their own ways, and Waverly was just like, fabulous with nails and furs. But I'm curious about like, when you are performing in a group of all Asians, does that feel freeing in a way? Like, does that allow you to explore different facets of your comedy or like your personality in ways that you aren't able to when you're performing with?
I've been doing comedy for a long time, and this is obviously the first time I've been in a group that's I'm not the only Asian person on the
Yeah.
team. But I've never felt like any of my previous groups have made that an issue, where like they say, you got to play the Asian role,
Yeah.
or like you got to do those jokes. Like, I don't think it makes a big difference there, but I think, like we said before, it allows us to make those more specific choices of like, I think one of the first shows we did, we were able to do subtle things like took our shoes off when we were going
yes.
into like a room in a scene, and like the audience went wild just for that small detail. And I was like, yes,
They understand.
yeah.
Donald was in this was a sketch, and not AsianAF, but at Who Made the Potato Salad Asian Takeover, that was written. That it's a POC comedy show that's run by X Mayo, and which is fabulous. And but there was a sketch about a Korean woman having an intimate relationship with a Japanese woman and her being haunted by her Korean ancestors because of what in the past the Japanese have done to Korea. And when I saw that sketch, when we saw it being written all day, and like Donald worked on it. He was one of the ancestors. Sorry, I don't know why I quoted like that, but I was like, I would have never have seen this if this was not a room of all Asian American talent sharing their experiences and making something of it. Like, I just would never see that kind of comedy.
Right. It's so nuanced. It's like next level Asian content.
Yeah.
I saw that there was a stand-up set that Brian Park did. I don't know if this is from the UCB New York or UCB LA show, where he talks about a woman saying that he was attractive, ... for an Asian.
That was definitely New York. Yeah.
I've heard that joke before.
Yeah, it was a great set. What are some of these like particular challenges that Asian men faced in casting? Donald, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Sure. Yeah. I've actually I'm doing leading an event tonight that's actually about Asian masculinity, but also I've done other talks about that too. But it's like, for a long time, we've never been cast as like the boyfriend or the hot guy. It is like you said, always like the nerd, maybe the best friend. Like I think, what was it? The Perfect Score. Did you ever see that movie? It was a heist movie where like high school kids try and like steal the SAT answers. And it was the first time I saw an Asian guy break any stereotype because he was like the pothead, like, comedic relief. So it was just like, that broke some barriers. But like, that was the first time you get to see something like that. I mean, we have like all these new roles opening up, but like we're making slow progress.
But also worth noting that like Henry Golding, who is, I think, objectively extremely hot, also half white. And, I think that we need to interrogate like why that choice was made.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. There's that other movie that just came out, The Sun Is Also a Star, and the lead of that is like written as a Korean man, and then the lead is also like I think he's a half Korean. He's gorgeous, so I totally get that. But yeah, I think that's been a thing where like half mixed race people, like half white actors, are like taking the Asian roles and like maybe because it feels like they're more recognizable.
Sure. I mean, I think that there is an argument to be made for like an approachability, right? Like where there's like, and I don't know if you experience this as well as somebody who's mixed race, but like you are of both cultures and of neither culture. Like you're just approachable enough in many ways. And I think especially when we're talking about Asian masculinity and about how for so long Asian men have been sidelined as like, not leading man material, is like Henry Golding the gateway drug.
Yeah.
I think, Henry Golding in an article, and Donald, you may have heard me say this, he, when faced with this question, he really did say, like, I really do consider myself Malaysian and, what is he, English? He's from the UK, right?
British, yeah.
And he was like, I don't see myself as, I don't describe myself as half of anything. I am both. I feel like I culturally connect with both, and that's how I identify, and I'm not going to let anyone else tell me otherwise. But I also do, and I totally feel that way too, and I've also started using that language of like, I am Thai and American. I'm not half of either. But on the other side of that, I think we do need to acknowledge that, Western media has definitely made us feel competitive in this way for POCs to feel like there's only very limited spots. And also Asian entertainment does, and Asian culture in general does have colorism issues and racial issues that we also need to address.
Right, absolutely. It is this sort of like scarcity mentality, right? Especially when you only have one Asian role. Crazy Rich Asians was the only film with an entire cast of Asians since Joy Luck Club, like a decade, more than 15 years earlier, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Maybe 20.
Yeah, maybe 20. Long time.
Yeah.
Thessaly LaForce, who is, I believe, Taiwanese and white, wrote in T Magazine last year about the lack of Asian representation in film, and she sort of talked about different Asian tropes as opposed to, the representations that we want to see in film from our heroes. She says, quote, the rebel, the bad boy, the iconoclast, the prankster, the people we worship in our popular culture don't play by the rules. And she sort of puts this in opposition to the stereotype of the model minority. Was there a moment when you guys came to see yourself as funny? Do you remember having an awakening of I am a funny person. I am the prankster. Was there? I mean, of course, I don't think that I certainly didn't grow up as seeing myself as a model minority. It was only sort of later that I came to realize that was maybe how other people viewed my peers and my family. But did you have a moment of awakening when you're I'm actually really funny?
I feel like I've always been very shy, probably in part because of the cultural upbringing, and I don't think I realized that I had a sense of humor until I went to a new middle school, and I was I have to make friends, and how am I going to differentiate myself? And that's when I started coming out of my shell and being a little bit funnier and making jokes, and then people were laughing, and I was oh, I guess what I'm doing is good and people like it, and also I just felt nice to have people laughing at things I'm saying. Definitely, I think I didn't realize I wanted to do comedy for real until later in life, but I think that was the one moment spark when it happened. But definitely it took longer than maybe other kids just because I was very, very quiet.
Right. I'm curious, when you moved middle schools, were you in a predominantly Asian or white or mixed school?
I was the only Asian girl. Everyone was white. And I didn't want to be seen as the Asian girl. So I definitely also used humor as a way to
Guess who's also funny, bitch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can do jokes too.
Right, yeah. What about you guys?
Also shy, also probably predominantly not Asian schools, but I think the way I broke through was I drew a lot. So I started drawing comics, and that was really popular. All the kids loved that. And I think that was how I was able to express myself while still being able to be shy and in the background.
Right.
But as a performer, I think I started doing improv in middle school. And that was maybe my first time able to go on stage and be in front of people and perform. And I was oh, I'm good at this. Yeah, I don't know. That's my thing.
I was also shy. Wow. I don't think anyone saw this coming, but yeah, I took acting classes in high school, and we were allowed to just I wanted to be a serious actor, still do. I really wanted to be a classical actor, still do. But we were allowed to do whatever monologues we wanted because our teacher wasn't really an acting teacher. She's really nice though, but if she's accomplished in many other things. So I would take bits from Chris Farley movies, and I would just do that in class, and I saw that was going well.
You had a strong sense of your type from an early age, I see.
Yeah, because I was oh, you say we could do whatever, and I would just do, I would do monologues that were just not appropriate for me at all. And so that's I think that was my first taste of just I don't know, that kind of attention. And it felt really liberating too, to just be I get to, do Man Van down by the river.
Sure.
Yeah. And my friends are laughing because we all watch SNL, Yeah.
What do your parents think?
They just now started supporting me. I'm 33 years old, and they just saw me do comedy for the first time this year.
Really? Mm-hmm. What did they say after they saw you?
My mom says that I speak very clearly, and she really likes that.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really helpful, positive feedback.
Yeah. And I see where she's saying that as someone who immigrated from Thailand and struggled to learn another language. Yeah, I see where she's coming from, and it means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents are confused by it. I don't think they're surprised that I'm interested in it and I'm doing it. I do think they wonder, is this worth your time? Is this something you should actually be pursuing? And they are very traditionally Asian in that they're go to grad school, go get your MBA, and things like that. But then when they do come to my shows and they don't say compliments, but they're like, you didn't suck up there, you know?
I'll take it.
Yeah, and then I hear from other family members that they're talking me up. So I'm like, okay, so you're kind of proud of me.
Right.
So it's a very Asian response to this, I think, which is like very quiet pride.
Right.
But I do think they're confused by it, especially because they're not used to improv specifically, and like more like American sensibilities when
Right.
it comes to humor. So,
So you're just making things up on
Exactly.
stage with your friends, okay?
Yeah.
You should prepare stuff. Study up.
Memorized ahead of time, maybe even better. What about your parents, Donald?
Yeah, I think I have the weird exception because like my mom came from the arts. She was like a dancer when she was young.
Yeah.
And then my dad did the traditional route where like he went to med school for a bit, but then dropped out because he hated it. And then I think because of that, together they're both like really supportive. My dad was like, I'm never going to push you to do anything you don't want to do. So you're pursuing what you want to do? Good. And my mom's like, great, you should do the thing. But they're very Asian about that, where they're just like, you got to be the best. You got to do everything you can, all right? Don't waste time. You got to do it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that your parents are funny? Because I think a lot of people talk about like having humorless Asian parents. But I think that my mom is like one of objectively the funniest people I know, like with actual jokes.
yes, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
my parents are hilarious.
Yeah. My mom was telling me how she calls my brother's cat is named Yoshi, and she was calling it the cat Yoshi Cheeto, and I was like, why do you call it Yoshi Cheeto? Is there like a memory or something? And she was like, no, I just think it's really funny. The cat looks nothing like a Cheeto. She just like does this to herself. There's no memory to it. It's just like she's very I think she's pretty funny.
She cracks herself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my dad was like, I think I got my sense of humor from him. Because I remember as a little kid, like he would do all these jokes, but my entire family would never respond. So now I think he's clammed up and he doesn't tell jokes anymore. But I'm like, oh, you used to be the funny guy. and the family just didn't respond to it. So, yeah.
Oh, sad.
It is sad. And now I'm like, oh my God, as a little kid, I like totally just destroyed his sense of humor.
You're gonna find like that your dad has a secret YouTube channel or something where he's just like telling jokes to his like 50 subscribers. Maybe let's close out by talking about Always Be My Maybe. This is like, a big moment for Asian film, Asian comedians. Who wants to talk about this film for people who maybe don't know what it is?
Well, it's like a rom-com starring two Asian leads, Ali Wong and
Randall Park.
Thank you for the save.
Yeah.
I was like, I know his name. It wasn't an all-Asian cast, which I thought was also cool. Like, they're Asian leads, but then there's also other types of all different people in the cast. Yeah. Is there? I don't know. I didn't provide any detail.
No, that's great.
Okay.
And also a cameo by Keanu
Reeves.
Reeves. Also Hapa.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
And also just a great cameo.
I mean, so this is
Really
what, like, this is
a
two Asian-led rom-coms in the span of a year, which is like 2,000% more Asian films than we've had in the last couple decades.
For sure.
I don't know. What do you guys hope? What do you hope the future of Asian representation and specifically Asian comedic representation looks like in film and movies? Like, do we want to be in a place where every time there's a film with an Asian male romantic lead, we're celebrating, or do we want it to come to a place where we're like, whatever, like that film was bad, nobody saw it?
I guess what I want it to be is the point where like there could be a bad Asian movie and there's not a deal made about it. Where it's just like, all right, yeah, it was bad. You want to watch it because it was like that bad? It was great. It's like how bad it was. Just because like I feel right now every Asian movie like is held to this crazy standard where it's like, oh, you better be good and we got to show up. Even if you're bad, we got to show up because like we need to.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Yeah.
I hope there's a point where like we want to go see the movies and audience members are like, oh, you know what? I just want to see this movie because like the story looks good. Not because of who's in it.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
Where we can choose, where we're like, oh, I don't know. I don't really want to go see the Asian zombie movie because I'm not that into zombie movies, but I will go see this other film that also has Asians in it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, everybody has to go see the Asian movie that's out.
yeah.
Yeah. I host an all-inclusive comedy show, another show, not AsianAF, and I say all-inclusive, but I can't wait till the day that I don't have to say that. Like, I really, like, if that makes sense, to just be like, that everything will be all-inclusive and that we'll see enough representation that it doesn't have to be like, that's the Asian comedy, that's this, even though it you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to feel that way, where it's just happening naturally, you know?
Right, 100%. Like, I want to be able to see a movie with Asian people without saying that's an Asian movie would be amazing. And I think getting to a place where Asians can play any role would be like just a dream. They can be anything, they can be everything. We're multifaceted, and feeling like I don't have to go to every Asian movie to support it.
Right. Well, you guys create a space where Asians get to be everything and anything at AsianAF. Tell people where they can see it.
Sure. We're every month, the second Friday of the month, at UCB Hell's Kitchen, which is at 555 West 42nd Street. Get your tickets soon because they sell it really fast.
And you can follow AsianAF Show on Instagram at AsianAF Show. And that is a good way to keep up to date, I'd say.
Great. Well, Jenny, Nicole, Donald, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.